I'm Minesh here. I'm the author of books like The Secret to Rich and Rewarding Relationships, as well as $1 Million Team Secrets, right? So today I want to cover 3 steps to master conflict. And maybe you have obviously been in conflict before. If you are human beings, we are communicating with other people. There are expectations which are not being met. Let me give you a framework using what is called transactional analysis. Now, maybe you heard of this, maybe you've not heard of it, but it is something which was pioneered by Dr. Eric Berne, I think in the 1930s. He wrote different books called Games People Play, etc. In the 1980s, there came out a book called I'm Okay, You Are Okay by Dr. Thomas Harris, which gives the framework as well. So let me share my screen here so that you can see the slides here. Let me put on the slideshow here. Okay, so 3 steps to master conflict. So we all do, get into conflict. So how does it feel when you're in a conflict? You feel frustrated, you feel angry, you feel hurt, and the other person feels that as well, right? So in the next few minutes, I'll give you a quick strategy to master conflicts. It's a short lesson, and here's what it is. Apply it in the next 24 hours and send me, whether you can post it, comment, etc., on how it helped you. So who do you have conflict with? You can have conflict within the workplace, like a client, co-worker. It could be at home, like friend, family member, etc., right? It is a question for all of us. Does it ruin your day? It certainly does, right? Maybe you're in a rush to leave for work and something happens and then you get along very well normally, but this one time there was something wasn't done right, and it ruins your day, correct? So that one conflict can set the tone for the day and destroy your productivity and positive feeling. So the question for us is, does it happen a lot or a little? How often do you get into conflict with people? Now, some people get into conflict a lot more than others. Start paying attention to it. Does it happen at home, at work, or does it happen in different places that you are aware of, right? Does it happen in your situation quite often when you're dealing with certain specific situations, right? Ask yourself, has this been going on for a while? How is your ability or inability to handle conflict affecting your life? Do these same conflicts repeat often? Like, for example, if you have conflict with a brother, sister, or at work with a certain client, or with a boss, with an employee or a peer, it's like, does this happen a lot? Because we want to be able to notice the pattern in which it happens, and hence we have more clarity of it. Then you have a system, right? You have a system to overcome conflicts. How do you react? Do you react, or are you prepared to handle conflicts? You avoid some people and situations because you cannot handle the conflict. Now, here's what I will tell you. People who avoid conflict eventually get in trouble. What does that mean? If you have a situation which needs to be addressed, you need to talk to this person, you need to have some clarity. Maybe there are boundaries which are not being properly done, or people are in the healthy boundaries. At some point, you have conflict. And if you are avoiding the conflict, you're not actually confronting the situation. At some point, the situation becomes even worse and the relationship can totally be destroyed, etc. So let me give you a simple system. If you could do it, how would that empower you? How would your life be different if you could handle a conflict, right? Here is what happens when somebody feels not okay about themselves. What does not okay mean? They're unhappy, they're frustrated, they're angry. When they don't feel good about themselves, people are likely to be in more conflict situation, right? So at any given moment, we feel okay or not okay about ourselves. We are likely to get into conflict, like I said, when we do not feel okay about ourselves. Now, there's another place to look for is we may not feel the other people are okay, right? So we don't have the positive framework about us, but maybe you don't have a positive framework about the other person as well. In general, when you feel okay about yourself and you feel the other person is also doing their best and you feel okay about them, then you are likely to have less conflict. Instead, if you don't feel okay about yourself, you're likely to get into more conflicts. And or if you feel other people are not okay, you need to correct them. They are not really doing the best they can, then it ends up being a conflict as well. So by keeping ourselves grounded to our okayness and helping other person feel okay about themselves, we can resolve most conflicts. See, when people are feeling good about themselves, you help them, which is where EQ comes into play. Emotional quotient is being aware of your emotions, being aware of other people's emotions, and being able to connect at a level where you can feel there can be a good communication taking place, right? Now, sometimes clients and anybody can get nasty when they're not feeling okay, having a bad day, feeling anxiety over the uncertainty of the transaction, certain expectations not being met. That happens to us, right? So by learning the fundamentals of transactional analysis, like I said, it was originated by Dr. Eric Berne in the 1930s. You can learn how to mitigate conflicts. So transactional analysis is based on understanding three ego states that we operate from at any given moment. Either you're operating from a place of being a parent, an adult, or a child. And you might be like, Minesh, I'm not a parent. How does that apply to me? Just a second. Let me explain this process to you. So these are what we call ego states. In a parent, obviously you have had a parent, you may be a parent. There are two general ways people operate in the parenting role. One would be the nurturing parent. Oh, poor, how are you? How can I help you? Are you sick? Are you hurt? And the other one is the critical parent. This is the one who says do's and don'ts. Don't do that. Don't do that. So when you pay attention to what I just said, did you hear some recordings in your brain when maybe your parent said something and that was like, oh yeah, it's recorded in your brain from very young age. Now you may tend to use either nurturing or critical parent quite often. Notice that about you. And if you don't know what it is, just ask other people, where do you come from? And explain to them this concept and they can tell you, okay, you come more from nurturing parent or critical parent, and we'll talk a little bit more about the other ego states as well. So the adult ego state asks questions and wants responses, and these questions are usually logical, rational, processing like a computer. What is the weather like? How is the day going for you? It's like very simple, direct questions which are more towards rational, factual situations. And the third is the child. So we all were children at one time, and you have children possibly. There is what is called an adapted child. This could be a reclusive child, withdrawn, or could be temper tantrums, etc. So imagine that child, right? And the other one is the natural child, fun, spontaneous, like, hey, let's go to the beach, let's have a party. So it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what you are doing. You are going to be operating from one of these three states: parent, adult, and child. And by noticing your state and by noticing other people's state, you can create a conversation. You can have a dialogue which can be more effective and productive towards getting results and mastering conflicts. When you were a child, if you had a conflict, who did you go to handle conflicts? Typically, it's like a mother's like, oh, let me help you. Then ask yourself, what are the ways that helped you in the conflict, right? Again, knowing your patterns from the past will kind of give you a clue on how this works. Now, here is the skill that we all should develop if we want to be more effective in working with people. It's called nurturing parent tonality. What does it sound like? Sounds nurturing parent tonality. Do you get the drift of it? Oh, I'm sorry that happened to you. How can I resolve it for you? So when you go to a certain customer service person, remember, they can also experience that as well. So do you feel like fighting when your parent uses nurturing parent tonality or the other person uses nurturing parent tonality? Not really, right? You feel more relaxed, taken care of, right? But you will also need logical solutions. There has to be some step, some action, something which happens. So what do we need to do? We need to be able to use adult approach to find common ground or solution to do what is next. Now, if you're familiar with the DISC model, E is very direct and C, they both sound like critical parents a lot. Whereas I sounds like a natural child, fun, friendly. S sounds like a nurturing parent. Like, oh, let me help you, take care of you. Okay. So here are the three simple steps. The first one is realize what state the other person is coming from. Either the person is coming from child, parent, or adult. Usually, when somebody is coming from a place of conflict, they're not okay. They're likely to be a child who is not fun. You know what I'm saying? Like adapted temper tantrum type of child, or they're coming from a critical parent. How come you did that to me? No, all that kind of stuff. So don't do this. So pay attention. Typically, the conflict will start from somebody who's in critical parent mode or an adapted child mode. Okay. Then how can you use nurturing parent approach to calm them? Because you want to be coming across as if you are listening to them, paying attention to them, but you need to resolve and dissolve that emotional charge. As long as people are in emotional charge, you can't have a logical conversation, which is why the last step is using adult approach, creating that calm, cool, easy to have dialogue for a solution. Okay. So apply this in the next 24 hours, put a comment, let me know how it helped you, because this is really about learning how to connect with people and helping them, as well as help yourself be more effective.